everybody, welcome back to the Small Town Nerd Podcast. I'm your host, Brian, and I'm still sick. I don't know what it is. I just have a chronic condition where I will forever just have a cold for the rest of my life, and I hate everything. And what sucks worse is, like, it's like through my family, man, and it's not like we've been tested for COVID. We've been tested for flu. We've been tested for strep. Like, it's none of these things. It's not pneumonia. It's nothing like that. Like, the doctors, we are an anomaly. We are like the ninth wonder of the world right now because we're fucking sick and we don't know why. Like, I mean, it's obviously some type of cold/flu, but it's like not coming back flu. I don't know. It's really weird. It's really strange. And, like, it's funny because I'm vaccinated against COVID. Like, super vaxxed up, booster shot. I got flu vaccines. I'm all set for that. And, of course, the thing that takes me down is neither of the things that I'm vaccinated for. So, if there's weird pauses in this episode or I just have a giant coughing fit, I have a cough drop in my mouth, so you might hear it click through my teeth as I'm talking. But just know, I'm sorry. I apologize, and please at me. Well, yeah. Let your voices be heard. Be angry. Be mad. Come at me. Anyway, so let's talk a little bit about just things today. I didn't really have too much prepared because of the illness, and I've been trying to recover from the brink of, well, I say the brink of death, but I mean that in the sense of I am a man who gets sick, and if any person out there of the opposite gender knows, like, when a man gets sick, no matter what it is, he is on his deathbed. Like, that's just how it works, okay? So, forgive me. But, yeah, so one of the big things I wanted to talk about, and I think every podcast and any type of social media posts here recently this past weekend has been talking about, is the new Batman movie. But I don't actually want to talk about the Batman movie. I do want to talk about Batman, though. And it's funny because one of my favorite podcasts, the Colt 45 podcast, did a movie review on one of the older Batmans. I think the Michael Keaton one. You know, and like people always talk about, like, which Batman movies were good, bad, you know, trash and great, and like everyone has a different Batman. What's their favorite Batman? And people have so many different opinions on all these movies, and so many opinions about the new one that's coming out, The Batman, with Robert Pattinson. I remember when they first announced this, that Robert was going to, like, I'm his friend. You know, my buddy Rob was going to be Batman. And everyone was like, oh, God, Edward Cullen, sparkly vampire bat and stuff. And I for sure went on record to say, I think he's going to be an awesome Batman. Like, I think I think anyone who just thinks of him as the vampire guy doesn't really care enough to know about him. But because if you know Robert Pattinson, you've seen the movies that he's been in, this guy can act. You know, he's a pretty damn good actor, and I was pretty excited to hear him cast as the Batman. You know, he's a younger guy, so if it did pan out for DC like it does for Marvel, he could be set for a few movies, man. You know, maybe he could be their Tony Stark, you know, their Robert Downey Jr. Obviously, you know, Robert and Robert. Obviously, that's not what happened, or I don't think it's going to be what happens, because apparently the Batman's not going to be connected to the rest of the universe. Like, DC doesn't really know what they're doing with their universe. They just know Gal Gadot is going to play a part in it, and the Flash is going to do some cool stuff, but that's kind of, I don't know, man. Like the DC flag is upside down right now. And they're going to figure it out. They're going to right the ship, but it's just, things are a little crazy and hectic right now. But yeah, so talking about that and hearing people argue online about whether they look like, because the movie's already out and the reviews are in, but I don't want to look at the actual reviews that give spoilers away on the movies. I've been looking at what the public thinks, and the public has two opinions. One, it's a fantastic Batman movie and Robert Pattinson does an amazing job at it. And two, it is a god-awful Batman movie and Robert Pattinson is the worst Batman that you've ever seen. Like, I don't know. But that's like how everything is, you know? It's just, it's stupid. I hate it. I hate how people act with it. But at the end of the day, what some people need to remember is that Robert Pattinson's Batman is going to be some kid's first Batman. This is going to be a generation's Batman, you know, much like some of y'all had Val Kilmer as your Batman, or Michael Keaton, or Ben Affleck, or God, what the Christian Bale. Then you have me and my weird generation, because I was born in the late 80s, so I was very much too young to really catch on to the earlier stages of Batman. Oh, and Adam West. I forgot to mention Adam West, and I'm sorry. And then you have the animated. But, you know, I'm talking about, we're coming back. Okay, sorry. I digress. And I cough. But you have me, who was born late 80s, and I was still too young in 92 for that Batman flick. And so my first Batman and my first iteration of Batman, I apologize, is George Clooney's Batman. And despite what a lot of people think of that movie, I still have fond memories of. And it's still, I have rewatched it recently. And yes, there are very not cringy moments in this film, but I still find it, like, it's one of my favorite Batman movies, man. And I don't care what you say. I don't care what you think. I still look on this movie fondly. Nipples and everything. Like, I enjoy the George Clooney Batman, man. I enjoy the villains in it. You have Poison Ivy. You have Mr. Freeze, or Mr. Freeze, right? Man, I don't watch too many DC stuff. I forget. I think it's just Mr. Freeze. But he's like a doctor. But I know it's not like Dr. Freeze. Anywho, and Bane, you know, like, you have these guys in here, like, classic Batman villains, and it's awesome to me. Like, and it's so over the top comic booky campiness. Like, that was really what, like, and you gotta remember, I was a kid, man. When did this movie come out? Like 95 or 97, one of the 2 years. I think it was 95. So I was 8 or 10 around like when this movie came out. I can't remember what year it actually came out, but from the crazy vehicles that they had to like the funny ass gadgets that they use, like they're fighting Freeze in this ice layer. I don't even remember if it was a layer or if it was some other place, and they're fighting his goons, which are all like hockey players in like Eskimo outfits, and then Batman and Robin tap their boots and fucking ice skates appear. Like, how did they know? Like, how were they that prepared, like, for this to happen? I think it was like one of the first fights they ever had with the guy. And so, like, it was just funny, man. This movie was a comedy first before it was a superhero movie, you know? And I love that about that, man. Like, the vehicles I thought were really fun. You know, the Batmobile was over the top crazy, had cool ass lights. So, like, yeah, I get it doesn't make sense, but when you were a kid with a toy, having a Batmobile that fucking lit up and shot rockets out of it was badass, man. Like, that's what you wanted out of your Batman, an awesome toy. And I, like, watching that movie, I was like, this is an awesome toy, man. This is the Transformers of Batman movies. Like, I don't care what you think. This movie was here to sell toys and also have fun. And I feel like that's what they did. And I will still argue, and I do argue with people. Well, first off, my favorite Batman, well, I'll just get this out. My favorite Batman is Ben Affleck. That is currently my favorite Batman because I felt like he did a good job as Batman and did a good job as Bruce Wayne. I feel like he merged the two together really well and played it and pulled it off really well. However, a close second and still one of my favorite Bruce Waynes is George Clooney. George Clooney he has that smarminess that I like about Bruce Wayne. Like when you see Bruce Wayne depicted in comic books or in the animated series, I feel like George Clooney really personifies that image. You know, he's handsome, man, and like he's got good looks. He's a great talker, make the women swoon. Like that's what I imagine Bruce Wayne as from like animated series stuff, from comic book stuff, you know. And there's like I was rewatching some scenes on YouTube last night just to kind of like prepare for what I wanted to talk about today, and there are some good acting moments between him and the guy who played Alfred in this movie. I feel terrible for not remembering his name, but there are good moments between the two in this acting and some of the more dramatic or somber moments of this movie. And you know, George Clooney was a dramatic actor. You know, he came from ER. I mean, I know he did other stuff, and I think that's where he really shined the most. You know, there are parts of this movie that are good, but are unfortunately buried behind really cringy parts of this movie. You know, like really over the top, out of crazy character parts of this movie. But remember, I am like a 10-year-old child. So I'm still loving every bit of this. I'm loving them sliding down a frozen dinosaur. I'm loving them flying off of an exploding rocket using like the side doors as surfboards, you know? Like, fuck, Power Rangers did it. Remember the skydiving thing? And like Tommy has like the fucking sky snowboard coming down and crap. Like Batman and Robin did it. Just saying. It was badass both times. Like, and I love Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze. Like, just him being really silly, like, was fun. And it was funny. And the, like, awful puns were terribly awful, but funny, you know? Like, this was a kid's movie. And I think some people forget that. Like, we're watching kids' movies. Like, we're watching a superhero movie that just wanted to be fun, you know? And I don't know, man. Like, I think some people just grade it too harshly. I think if you sit back and just watch it for what it is, you're going to laugh. You're going to have a good time. And yeah, there's going to be explosions. Like, yay, right? God, man. Although I do remember how cringy it is when he pulls out like the Bat credit card. Like, man, that's pretty bad. And they're like bidding on a night with Poison Ivy, and yeah, it gets pretty weird. Excuse me. I got the Alfred drug, or Alfred sickness. But yeah, so like, I mean, I don't know if you guys remember the movie at all. Like, the main thing is like Mr. Freeze, his wife is dying from this crazy illness, and of course to save her, he's gonna do what we all do when we come home with you know, meat from the store that we want to preserve. We freeze it. So that's what he does with his wife. And then, you know, he does some questionable things because he needs diamonds to make things cold because, you know, that's how Batman physics works. Diamonds make things cold, or it just powers his suit. Whatever. I don't know. Uses lights, diamonds, reflections, whatever. Like, who am I to judge? I'm a 10-year-old child. His suit looks badass, and I can't wait to have his action figure. And then at some point, Uma Thurman's Poison Ivy gets involved. Oh, well, she's not Poison Ivy yet, but something happens. She gets thrown somewhere. And then she becomes Poison Ivy. And then, oh yeah, there's this weird dude who gets injected with Venom. Not Marvel Venom, just bad Venom. And now he becomes Bane. And Poison Ivy's like, hey, I want that, so you're mine now. And then she's like, hey, Bruce Wayne, well, you should fund this cool project that's going to help repopulate the plant life on Earth, but also kill people. So, hee, whatever. And he's like, I admire you, but, the whole people dying thing, not about that life. So, gotta go. And so she's like, well, I guess I'm going to fucking kill Bruce Wayne now. And she teams up with Mr. Freeze because, plants and ice, they work great together. And then she's like, hey, that's your wife. Well, I'm going to kill her now. And I don't even remember why she does that. Unless she's just bad. Like, I don't know. I just remember her just, like, trying to kill his wife. And then it turns out Alfred has the same sickness as Mr. Freeze's wife. And Batman asks him for help. And, but he's arrested too. I don't remember, man. It's all really fuzzy. They drove cars off statues and shit and tried to freeze all of Gotham. And then lasers and Batman and defrosting. And Robin had rubber lips. Like, it's all like this weird fever dream of just weird shit that happens throughout this entire movie. But I loved it because it was crazy. And I was 10. Like, I don't know, man. I just feel like people just need to relax and just enjoy the nips, man. You had Batgirl in it, and I mean, her origin in this movie was way different than what it is in the comic books. Because in the comics, she's Barbara Gordon, Officer Gordon or Commissioner Gordon's daughter, and this she was Alfred's niece or something. I can't remember. Just a grown-ass adult niece who's like, yeah, I'm going to fight crime now and do cool stuff. And I ride dirt bikes and race them in shady parts of town because I'm badass. And it actually kind of was badass. Now, like when I really think about it, it actually kind of was badass. But I don't know, man. Like, I get passionate about this movie because, like I said earlier, this was my Batman. Like, this was what I grew up with, and this is what I got excited about. And everyone's going to have that. People are going to love Robert Pattinson's Batman, and that's going to be a new generation's version of Batman, a new generation of kids' Batman. That's going to get them into the comic books. That's going to get them into the animated series. That might even get them to watch the older Batman movies, like with their parents and stuff. Like, just because, I'm getting sentimental now, but just because we like call a movie trash, like Green Lantern, we trash on these movies, they are someone's superhero movie that's going to get them interested deeper into the character, It's like, it's funny because like Stan Lee was right when he said like every comic book is someone's first comic book, like that was his big thing with Marvel stories, was like any one of those books could have been someone's and will be someone's first comic book and introduction into the world of Marvel, into the world of comics. And I feel the same way about movies, like, and I'm not going to sit here and say I don't trash movies when they have like bad parts of them. But at the same time, I understand that even though there's great superhero movies out there that stand on a pile of trash, the reason why they can stand so high is because of the garbage that came before them, like, and it's not all garbage. I'm not trying to say everything before whatever year was garbage and now what we're getting is the pinnacle of superhero movies, because that's not true, but you can't ignore what's come out. You can't ignore what's been put in place, set in motion, and how things have changed and evolved, and how not only the superhero movie industry has evolved, but pop culture and comics and how that's evolved and changed over time because of these campy movies, because of the not great Batmans and Green Lanterns and Hulks and Thor Dark Worlds of it all. Sorry, I had to call you out there on that one. No, but I'm all for it, man. I know there'll be good movies. I know there'll be bad movies. I hope they just keep making them, man. Like, that's what I want. I just want them to keep making movies, So yeah, that's kind of like, okay, that's my preaching moment. I just wanted to get that off my chest because, one, the Batman's out in theaters. I do want to check it out at some point. I was hoping it was going to be on HBO Max, but it wasn't. So I started watching Peacemaker instead. So I'm going to have thoughts on that. Oh, I got a lot of thoughts on that, actually, but we'll see. We'll see how that pans out. But, yeah, so hopefully, I don't know, maybe I'll go to the theater and check out the Batman one day. Or maybe it'll come to HBO Max soon, and I can watch it over there and then have thoughts on it that way. That way, if I wait till it gets on HBO Max, then, the spoilers won't be so bad because you should have seen it by now. Or now it's on HBO Max, so you should see it then. So, I don't know, man. We'll figure it out. But, yeah, my nose is stuffy as hell now because I have gone this whole time without blowing my nose or stopping, and I'm dying. So thank you guys for listening to the podcast this week. Sorry it came out a little bit late. Like I said, I've been sick, so I just haven't had time to think about anything, and my brain is foggy, and my nose is stuffy, my throat hurts, and probably recording this is going to be like a huge punishment on myself. And I did this for you because I love you. And I promised myself that I would always, actually, I made no promises to myself and no promises to you guys, but for some reason I wanted to just start doing weekly episodes. So here we are, killing my body for you, for entertainment. So, yeah, enjoy. We'll see you next week. Be sure to check me out on all my social media. Maybe we can chat. I'm trying to get back into the swing of things. I've been so far gone from social media that I forgot how to do it. I forgot how to retweet and post things and get excited about stuff. I'm working on it, man. I haven't even streamed games in a while. Like I said, I've been sick, so it's just I got other things on my mind, man. But we'll chit-chat with you guys later. Thank y'all for listening. And catchphrase shit. I'm trying to remember. I'm just a small town nerd living in a world. I don't know. Anyway, I'm home now. I gotta take my son to school. Love you guys. Peace.